7.5 meters underground, the air grows thin. A man lies flat on his stomach, his shoulders grazing the dirt walls, scraping away handfuls of soil, while hoping the sensitive enemy microphones listening directly above him pick up nothing but silence. This subterranean front line was located 145 kilometers southeast of Berlin, deep in the dense forests of Zoggen. Here, the German military constructed Stalag Luft III, a sprawling, high-security prisoner of war camp designed specifically to hold captured Allied air crews. Above ground, the conditions were surprisingly civil. Due to their status as officers, the prisoners were afforded privileges over the average conscript. They had access to a well-stocked library, a sports field, a swimming pool, and could even organize outdoor choir services among the trees. Yet for many, this comfort felt like a trap of uncertainty. They believed that remaining idle was a failure of duty. To them, escaping was not just a way to get home, it was a method of disrupting the enemy from within. The camp was designed to make conventional escape impossible. The flat, heavily exposed perimeter was surrounded by double fences bristling with barbed wire, separated by a 30-meter stretch of open no-man's land, all under the constant watch of machine gun towers. Beneath the surface, the Germans were equally prepared. They raised the prisoner huts off the ground to eliminate hidden digging spots and embedded seismic microphones around the perimeter. Most daunting of all, the subsoil was a bright yellow sand that would instantly betray any illicit digging if scattered on the camp's gray surface dirt. The prisoner's strategy relied on a simple trade. Every man who reached the tree line would force the German command to divert frontline soldiers and equipment to conduct a nationwide manhunt. Because a dash for the fence was certain suicide, the prisoners realized their only option was to build a system of tunnels capable of bypassing every one of these security measures. This was a coordinated effort involving 600 men simultaneously digging 3 tunnels, nicknamed Tom, Dick, and Harry. The primary tunnel, Harry, was hidden beneath a heavy cooking stove. A vertical shaft dropped 7.6 meters into the earth, placing the tunnel deep enough to stay below the range of the perimeter microphones. Digging through the sandy, silt-like soil meant living under the constant threat of cave-ins. To prevent a collapse, they had to shore up the walls and ceiling with wooden support beams. They acquired this wood by manipulating the camp's supply system. Bedboards, chairs, and benches routinely disappeared. Because neutral third-party inspectors required the camp to maintain a minimum standard of living, the Germans were forced to replace the missing items, unwittingly providing a steady stream of construction materials. As the tunnel stretched towards its final length of 111 meters, the men built a rail and cart system using stolen screws and scrap wood. This allowed them to shuttle excavators and excavated sand from one end of the tunnel to the other in a fraction of the time. Disposing of the yellow sand required another layer of deception. Over 100 men, nicknamed penguins, concealed long bags of sand inside their trousers. As they walked the courtyard, they would release the sand and kick it into the gray topsoil, blending the colors before guards could notice the discrepancy. German ferrets, guards specialized in finding tunnels, eventually discovered Tunnel Tom. Despite this setback and the resulting increase in surveillance, the prisoners focused all their remaining efforts on Tunnel Harry, finalizing it for a breakout in early 1944. On the night of March 24, 1944, 200 chosen men prepared to make their run. They carried forged identity papers, maps, and civilian clothes they had spent months bartering for or manufacturing in secret. At 9:30 p.m., the first man reached the exit shaft, only to find the wooden hatch waterlogged and jammed. It took 45 minutes of prying in the darkness to wrench the boards loose, losing nearly an hour of irreplaceable nighttime cover. When they finally forced the hatch open, they discovered a second, more dangerous error. The tunnel had been dug too short. Instead of opening into the safety of the trees, the hole emerged in the middle of the exposed no-man's land. To compensate, they positioned a lookout in the forest. He used a physical rope tied to the men in the tunnel, giving a sharp tug to signal whenever a German sentry patrol had safely passed the exit hole. Using this agonizingly slow system, 76 prisoners successfully emerged from the hole and vanished into the freezing darkness. But at 4:55 a.m., the timing broke. A prisoner waiting in the tunnel misinterpreted a rope tug and climbed out directly into the path of a patrolling sentry. The guard fired a warning shot and blew his whistle. While 76 men had breached the perimeter, the dawn exposed the broken tunnel. The escapees were now on foot in enemy territory, with the entire Nazi apparatus waking up to find them. The escape triggered a search that eventually pulled 70,000 German frontline troops and Gestapo agents into a nationwide dragnet. Traveling undetected through Germany was almost impossible. Out of the 76 who escaped, only 3 managed to reach neutral territory: 2 Norwegians who reached Sweden, and a Dutchman who made it to Gibraltar. As the other men were recaptured, Adolf Hitler issued a direct, illegal order to bypass the Geneva Convention and execute the prisoners. The Gestapo took 50 of the recaptured men to isolated roadsides and invited them to step out of the cars. As the handcuffed prisoners stood by the side of the road, they were shot in the back of the head. The German command claimed the men were killed while trying to escape, but the delivery of 50 burial urns back to Stalag Luft III told the remaining prisoners a different story. This cover story failed. Following the war, a Royal Air Force investigation led to the prosecution of the Gestapo personnel involved. At the Nuremberg trials, many of those responsible were sentenced to death for the executions. In the wake of the breakout, the Nazi High Command issued a grim decree to every camp in Europe: escape is no longer a sport. But the prisoners had achieved their military objective. For 1 month, tens of thousands of German troops were diverted from the front lines to chase 76 men through the woods. The threat of execution was meant to end the resistance. It didn't. Almost as soon as they learned of their comrades' deaths, the prisoners went back to work and began digging a new tunnel.